Hey everyone, my name is Antons, and I'll speak today about model context protocol. I'll try to be fast. I have only 22 slides. That includes including this and a couple of slides with the word thank you and so on. So I'll try to be quick, but I can't promise. So I'm the engineering principal at EPAM Systems. My specialization is, at least last couple of years, is generative AI application engineering. But my true specialization is engineering for machine learning. What I'm trying to do is to figure out how to run this thing on production systems. Right? Whatever a data scientist built on their notebook, I'm trying to put it on this thing so it would not crash. Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn if you want. There is also GitHub, and actually today's code I will publish on the GitHub. Give me at least a star there. Yeah, and on X, I quit X. X is X. All right, so before we start, let me explain the idea behind this model context protocol and actually why I, as the engineer, quite a bit excited about that. So it probably will be more oriented on engineering rather than data science. Data scientists, my deep apologies. Anyway, let's start the brief evolution of LLM-infused applications. So it's been a couple of years already, but we can at least say like, hey, here's evolution. We went a big path. So the first applications were just LLMs, right? The only problem with the LLM, it has the knowledge dated to the date of their last training. If I ask a question, who is the current CEO of my company, the LLM will say, well, according to the 3 years back knowledge, my latest knowledge, then this is this guy or lady. Then what we try to do is actually to convert these applications into the open book questions, where we supply in the prompt necessary information, and then we say, okay, dear LLM, you have answers somewhere inside of this prompt. Just try to reason around that and answer my question. So this is, I would say, the type 1 applications. The key interesting part of this application is that this is the wrapper around LLM. So basically, when I create a solution, I put something before, I put something after, and my model is somewhere deeply inside, right? And the second interesting part is that I can't say to the model, hey, here is information, just figure out the response and send back the response on Slack. Ciao. Right? So to answer to this question, then the Anthropic came up with the tool scoring. Later, I believe later popularized it by OpenAI's function calling. So this idea is once the model became capable of doing structured outputs, I could say in the prompt, you know what? This is the structure of the function that can find you an answer, right? And actually tell me the exact parameters that I need to put into these functions, and maybe you will find the answer, right? And then the model will say, okay, it's probably this and that parameter. I run it in the code, I get back to the model and say, this is the result of this execution with these parameters. Do you know the answer now? Right? And for the second iteration, say, oh, no, it's actually the answer is not correct. Try these parameters, and so on, right? We call this, we call such kind of type of applications like React, Reason and Act applications, and apparently it does the job. Well, here is one challenge. the challenge is that whenever I create these tools, these functions, it's very hard for me to use it for another application. If I have spent last 3, 4, 5 weeks trying to extract sentiment from the user's speech, right, and fine-tune it and so on, for one application, I would be happy to reuse it for another my chatbot, right? But it's very hard for me to reuse because somehow my tool become glued quite well to the entire solution that includes my LLM, right? And last but not least, my application is still a wrapper. So again, my model is somewhere deep inside, right? And every ML engineer knows that model decay is kind of dangerous when you've got the publication. You know what? The model that is very deep inside is deprecated and will be replaced soon. So update your application now, right? So then we're slowly coming to the type 3 applications, and this is what I will try to convince that this maybe this is not the standard like de facto, but it has the in my mind it has the closest chances to be the standard that will be accepted by the community. So here is the thing in this application. So what if we have the application, Gen application, let's call it a host app, that hosts some kind of logic and so on about the application. It has the Slack interface maybe, and so on, right? It has the direct interface to the LLM and does the job well. But the tools, what we do with the tools, and with tools, well, actually the tools is something that could be external. Usually the tool is accessing some kind of service. It can be a local service, it can be a remote service, it can be a data set, doesn't matter, right? What if we will put between our host app and the service the middleware application, deploy it somewhere separately, and then this application that has zero knowledge about my host app can just operate with the tool quite well, right? And then what we need only to agree is what is the protocol between the host application and this, we call it server, right? Server that provides a service, right? This way it's a server. So if we agree about the communication protocol about that, then we can make the server virtually reusable. So that means that we can, the service providers, something like GitHub, Atlassian, and so on, they finally can create a tool that could be virtually reusable across multiple applications, right? And then they can maintain this tool by themselves, right? So that's exactly the approach. That promotes the MCP. So if you would look like on a typical MCP application, it would be encoded into this format. And by the way, I place interesting links. If you want to get deeper, just scan the QR code, and then you will get into a little bit more details about this talk, right? So. If you don't have mobile phone now, you can use later, and so you can use later. The slides will be available. So, what is interesting? The host app, right? It has two parts. On the one side, it contains the interface to the messaging system, something like Slack, Teams, Cloud, and so on. And by the way. Popular IDEs and so on, today they are updated to be the same, the MCP host as well, right? You basically can open your favorite IDE and then plug in plug in the servers, and then you've got extra powers, right? I'll show you in a minute how to use it, but yeah, bear with me. Another thing that it can have the interface to the model. The only disadvantage is I tried the model from the DeepSeek, the reasoning model. It does not support the structured output. Well, it doesn't support tools calling per se, so you can't use it. But eventually, if the model by its nature supports structured outputs and tools calling, you can plug in any model, right? And then in the middle of this is called the client application. The client application is supposed to talk, to establish communication with the servers, right? While the server has the connectivity to the one of the services, and then it provides a number of functions to call, right? And then it's all about transport layer, about the messaging and so on, how to enable the work done, right? This is the architecture that works way better in my mind. Why? Because the model is externalized. It's not in the middle of the application. It's kind of outside, and I, as the application developer or even user, I can, before I give the task, I can choose the model that I want to use, right? And then maybe for different tasks, I may decide to choose different models, right? So quite similar as Perplexity are doing on their interface, right? And I found it quite fascinating, right? So if we go a little bit deeper into this architecture, this is the same slide, just slightly rewritten. First of all, the host application has the one process that has different coroutines that it talks to the server. While the server itself, it always operates within the separate process. It doesn't matter where you run it. You run it on your local computer, you run it on the remote server, you run it inside of the container somewhere in Kubernetes cluster, doesn't matter. But it is a separate process, right? And then the separate process establishes, it is developed, and then it knows better how to connect to the local server, remote server, or data source. Doesn't matter, local, remote, and so on. What is kind of important that we have for communication, for transport layer, we have today two choices. One is STD input-output, standard input-output, and another one SSE. Right? Actually, the specification says that every tool must support standard input-output. And then it can support SSE. Right? So that means that we kind of, at least today, we're a little bit limited to the text input-output processing, right? They promise, Anthropic promise support for multimodality, but the late specifications in the draft, and as far as I've seen not so much multimodality there yet. So this is probably the biggest limitation of this model, right? And then basically about SSE. This is most interesting for production cases, right? It's all about JSON RPC to specification, right? It has just pure methods. You can basically the spec you just download. You can implement or generate to whatever language you want. But what I would like to highlight, this supports only today the stateful connections, right? That means that you need to have a one-to-one mapping between client and the server. You want to spin up more clients, spin up more servers. That's kind of limitation that we have to leave today, and maybe it will be changed in the future, but let's see. Right. Another thing, what we see is standard input, standard output. Here is the catch. So the tool for responding, the server for responding, it uses the STD output always. Right? That means that you cannot write logging to there. Otherwise, it will mess up with everything. So write logs into the STD error or to the file, or send it to the TCP socket somewhere. But actually not STD output. Yeah, just brief word of warning. Yeah, I caught this within. I was caught into this trap within the 5 minutes. Actually, yeah, of my first experience. yeah, hopefully you will be more smarter. So now about the interesting part, right? Whenever you come up, whenever US vendor come up with something, you need to find what is the right level of abstraction. And here, the level of abstraction is the following. So they call it capabilities, but in fact these are three primitives that client can request from the server. First of all, it can request the resource. Resource can be pretty much like anything. It can be file. It can be if your server is actually database operating something. Then a resource can be the database schema, and yeah, you name it, right? Then there is a tool. The tool is basically the function that will do the operation. If for myself, I declare the difference in my mind the following. If I would write an API, the resource will be the get API, and the tool will be the post API, right? That does the action, right? The only difference is that resource must always be associated to some kind of URI, to some kind of resource. Right, it must be kind of tangible. That's the because in this case you can cache it. Right, and then last but not least is the prompt. Basically, I wouldn't say brag, but actually sometimes because the model is not inside of the server, the client can request give me the prompt, maybe with additional data, and I will gladly execute with my model. Right, or sometimes the prompts. Can have the parameters, or it can be templates, and basically the server can request all these things and then render on their side and then execute it, right? So this is quite advanced and handy technique. Yet on the server side, there are two more capabilities that are kind of important. The first one is actually the roots. The roots are kind of, if your tool wants to operate with your file system on your computer, you want to log it inside of a specific place, right? So this is where you define the boundaries, the perimeter, the trust perimeter where it can operate, right? These are the roots, and this is what a client can request, and actually, the model can request to the client to provide this resource, but the client can decide to reject, right? And another thing is sampling. So that means that because the model is owned by the client, then the tool, the server, can ask model to run some kind of completion, and then and it's calling here the sampling, and then to pass back the results. Because here the client have the possibility to kind of review what tool is asking, is it safe or not, and then decide whether to execute it or not. And then after the execution, before to send it back, it can review are these completions like good enough, doesn't contain any data that tool should not see, and so on, and then send it back. So basically, this has been done both things have been done to promote the security, and this is basically what Anthropic is most concerned with, the security of these things. And last but not least, with resources, there is one advantage. Right? It supports, you can subscribe to resource changes. By the way, you can subscribe to changes to any tools, to the prompts and so on, but with resources, the most interesting subscription, and basically you can stream the resources as well. So yeah, that's kind of handy. So then about SDK, right? I told you that this is a quite simple JSON RPC implementation. There are already today there are a number of languages that are supported. Pretty much most popular languages are supported. The last one was just released a couple of days ago. for .NET, then the TypeScript, and then Java supported Kotlin has separate SDK somehow, and then the Python. Right. The community also provided Rust and Golang, and Golang is currently in the proposed state. So, yeah, pretty much all languages are supported. Then, just to do the heavy coding, right? For me, I most fluent probably with the Python, so I will use Python today, if that's okay, right? So, if you use Python, in order to start, just run pip install MCP. Right, and what you will get? You will get low-level SDK. That means that it will be like you can go as low level as you can to organize your application. You can go with the, but it also has for the server side, right? The server is most interesting to implement it for the to get familiarized with MCP, right? So this is why I will focus more on the server side, a little bit less on the client. But if you have any questions, happy to answer. Anyway, so if you don't want to use low-level SDK, there is fast MCP for Python. That is kind of high-level SDK on top of, I believe it's fast API, right? Then there is a command line interface, inspector for debugging, and it's a web app written in Node, and quite handy. And by the way, here the MCP team provides UV. This is the build and packaging system, quite popular between the Python developers recently. I am the old-fashioned. I like poetry, and so I don't use UV. So basically, I apologize for that. Yeah, but all generations they are doing it by default with UV, and and I'm not very big fan of the generations. They have the code generator embedded into the CLI. I'm not a big fan of that. I will show you a better tool that I would like to I will show you a better tool. Anyway. So, if you want to write MCP, so this is the piece of the code that I wrote with some certifications, and basically, and this does the std output. If you want to change with the SSC, you can change the string, and then virtually that should be it. But what is interesting here is the following. So whenever you run MCP server, you give it a name, some settings, and then you declare the resource. The MCP becomes the decorator, and here you define the resource basically that will be accessed. Right? Then the functions to implement. When you use tool, you always supply the description. Description will be used will be passed to the LLM as the prompt. It should describe explicitly what this tool should do, right? And it should be quite explicit, right? And this thing is quite important, right? And then you just run it. If you want to add to the existing API, it's quite simple. Just declare it as the route and append to the routes, and then that's it. Easy. Clear? Go next. So once I'm done, easiest way to run, MCP run. There are a number of other ways, but yeah, easiest way to run. If you want to debug and see what's inside, by the way, the debugging is quite messy there, but yeah, it's still better, I would say, than if you would debug your code within the Jupyter notebook. But but here, whenever you run MCP dev, it will ask to install the inspector app. This is Node.js app. Be ready for that, and then it will run basically. Yeah. And last but not least, you need, once your application is running, what you need to connect it to the client. Here I will use the Anthropic Cloud Desktop just to connect it, and it has the file, you just add the file, add the information to the file, and then you run it. One word of this can be Docker, by the way. If you run SSE, you can change a little bit the command to supply the SSE and then run it. For me, because I run the servers locally, there is no point to run Docker. For the local process, I just want to run it as is. And by this reason, because it's Python, the Python wants packaging, proper packaging, then I have to change all paths to the absolute paths. Then it will run. And then I should not forget in this case to overload the Python path, because it's the Cloud app is this separate application. It has nothing to do. Don't really have zero information about my virtual env installed somewhere on my file system, right? So let's do enough coding. Let's do some demo, right? I will stop sharing and then I hope it will. Yeah. Okay, we are back. Okay. So by the way, first of all, if you go here on the GitHub, you will see the old code. Yeah, yeah, it's over there. What I have in my repository, right? I have the poetry file. Then I have two important directories. One is for clients, another one about the servers. I will start with the servers. So with the servers, I have three tools. Settings is not a tool, right? One is most important is today. Today just tells what date is now. Why it's important? It's kind of hack to tell LLM what time is it now, and then if I ask the question what happened last Friday, it will ask again what time is now, what date is now, and then it will calculate what happened, what was the date last Friday. Right? Easy to use. Or if I will ask a question about what's happening in this afternoon, and then so on, it basically will ask what date is now, and then it will do the stuff. Right? This is why I wrote this tool. And let me show you how does it look. So everyone can read Python? I don't ask you to read Python. Can you read it at least for me, please? Yeah. Okay. This is the Python code. So this is MCP server, basically that with some defaults. Then you see here I have a tool today that will return the dictionary of strings, and then it will have the quite rigid structure. So I will return basically what date is today, the full date, weekday, year, month, whatever LLM will need, I get it for them. Right? It's yeah. I don't expect any parameters, I just have a nice structure to return. The only challenge for me was actually is to write this prompt. So basically this is the prompt that will be added inside of the function, so it must be written with a good quality. Right? Thanks God, LLMs are very good to writing the prompts for themselves. Right? So yeah, I couldn't come up with this prompt, by the way. Yes, it's all written by LLM, but yeah, it's a good one. So I have the second tool. It does online search. So it uses the Google programmable search, and basically what it will do the search. You see again the prompt, quite a good one, and basically even with the examples of results, basically what it will do, it uses HTTPX to run Google programmable search, passes the user question, then returns back structure of three. Title of the page, link to this page, and then the snippet that was returned in this with the Google results, and then that's it, right? The prompt, this will be written to the std error, right? If you want to know how to do the setup, just check out my code. Yeah, you will see. You will see. Yeah. And then, last but not least, I have one more tool that does that also uses HTTPX, but it also uses Beautiful Soup. Right? I use Beautiful Soup. Basically, what it does, it takes the URL downloads the document, and then parses it, just tries to find what is the main part of this web page, and then basically it will scrap what is inside and then convert to the Markdown. Why to the Markdown? Because Markdown is probably the easiest language to get processed by the LLMs. Right? This is why I need it in Markdown, and basically returns back the results. The only problem with this, it doesn't support SPA applications, so yeah, lacks browser support, but yeah, I wrote it for this talk basically. But you got the idea, right? And then it has the quite a rigid explanation about this. Then what else I also have here, the programmable search. It is linked to the. It's instructed only to look at the DevClub.lv. Nothing else, right? I don't want to go anywhere on the Google. I'm not interested in the Google. I'm speaking in the DevClub, and then yeah. Well, this is it. Then let's run it. Whenever I run, and then last but not least, I need to register these tools, all these three tools, with the Cloud Desktop. Basically, I write the command, the arguments, the MCP run, and then I point to the file. I overload the Python path, and then that's it, right? My credentials are written in the different file. It's in .env. I won't share with you it, but yeah, not today, not this time, not in this talk. And then basically the tool is instructed to find out the .env file and then run it. Well, this is it. This is it. Let's run the. Let's see how does it work with the Cloud Desktop. So this is the Cloud Desktop. Over here, I can choose. Can I make it larger? Oh yeah, I can. Good. So this tool is using the 3.7, Cloud 3.7, love this model. And then I can see that it used three tools. These are the tools, you see the prompts that it was able to hook in, and then it is able to run it. So if you want to debug, let's see what's inside, you can tail the logs. I do have logs somewhere. It's Cloud Desktop logs, basically everything what's happening I should be able to observe here. Then I can ask it a question, and this is quite interesting, right? Here I will ask a question, I already prepared one. So I was inspired by the previous talk. So basically I've heard somebody speaking about the poisoning, right? I want to find out who was it, right? So what is interesting here, this is not an information request. This is the task, and you see that I say like find out. So basically I can say that use the search online or so on, right? I need to formulate my task, my question in form of the task. That's probably the biggest difference or kind of MCP specifics, right? You need to formulate really the tasks for the model, and then it will try to do. So first, whenever it runs, let's see, please, demo gods, please. My God, what's happening? No!
It's poison.
Okay. I have no idea, literally no idea what's happening here. Let me restart this cloud, please. Please. Bear with me. Okay, I have internet. Okay. Question number 2, run, please. Okay, thank you. Thank you, God. So you see it's real demo, right? So first thing that it does, and it says that, oh, I have the tool. Basically, I don't have this information in my memory. I want you to run the first tool. The question implies the question, what is today? Right? And then I have the question, okay, let's authorize this tool. I know what this tool is doing. Authorize. Then you see it did the inference, and then it asks, now I know what is today, I need to formulate the search query and run the search tool. Basically, it's poison expert speaking in March 27. Yeah, probably it won't find anything. Yeah, toxicology. Okay, it started. Yeah, it started to retry right several times until wow, it was able to find. Yeah. Let's say yes. It's you see it's did several tries. Basically, it's trying to formulate the question and then run something, and then it was able to find at least something that there would be feature AI focused event and actually and so on. Right? Let's see. Okay.
But interesting that it was this Thursday, another Wednesday.
Yeah. Somehow this is the difference. Somehow this is different. Do we have Edgar? Is this hallucination?
What quantum method?
Yeah, actually before this, I tried this prompt several times. I've got the different results. Okay, search again, please. Okay, please. Let's go, man. Yeah.
Who is the expert? Huh?
Okay, I think it started to hallucinate. Yeah. So.
It's some previous query.
Yes, it actually uses the context from the previous. It started to use it again. Okay, let's give something again. Like that's okay. Search for latest meetup and tell me who are the speakers. Do it in reply in Latvian. Yeah. Sorry, English speaking people. Okay, authorize this tool again, right? Then, yeah, now it was able to find the DevClub.lv, right? It was able to search. Then actually it tries to extract the content. You see that it's fetched the web page and started to tell, okay, yeah. So, yeah, at least, yeah, and that's the results. Okay, that's better. Thank you, Claude, for doing this. Yeah, now let's do a little bit more interesting. If you have, can you bear 10 minutes more, please? Can you bear 10 minutes, me, please?
Yes.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Yeah. Let's write the client. It's quite simple, so I already wrote, and for this I'm using Pydantic AI. I kind of like this. It's quite sleek framework, but actually you can use low-level API. Nothing prevents you, but actually all framework providers currently support MCP. There was recent announcement from AutoGen. They support MCP, even AutoGen supports MCP, so basically you should be safe with all frameworks, right? But I have chosen the Pydantic AI because it kind of provides probably more sleek implementation, right? So what I do from here, right? I write the same specification, quite similar as I wrote for the Cloud Desktop, but just yeah, it's quite similar, right? It's just a Python dictionary. And then what else I do? I run for every of the server. I run 3 std.io servers. If I need to run SSE, I can expose it as SSE server as well. The only thing that, the only difference, I must really have a good understanding what this tool is. It std.io or SSE server? So I can't use std.io for SSE server. But yeah, it's very easy to find out what tool actually is running with. Then I use Amazon Bedrock. So basically I run this Bedrock and I say use the Cloud model. We can also use Llama, but I've got the better results with the Cloud, right? Pretty much any model that supports structured output can do the and the tools calling can do the trick, right? Then I supply the system prompt. From here, we will get slightly different results because I supply a system prompt here, and another option I can supply it with the inside of the server. Whenever there is communication starts, then the server can say, "Oh, by the way, I do support, I do have the best system prompt that you can use, or not the system prompt. This is how you can reformat your user question." Right? So basically, I can advertise in the capabilities during the connection that, dear client, please, you have a choice to use prompts from me, right? And then the client can decide what they will do. My prompt was quite simple. So basically, you're a professional assistant. Your audience is, you can help with the questions, so on. Like, I hate when they say I'm sorry. It's my personal thing, right? Yeah. And then I said that you can use the tools and so on. Basically, yeah, that's it, right? A very simple prompt. And then I run it. I run all the servers, right? And then I pass the question to the user. The question is about who is speaking today, and okay, where is the venue, right? Let's run it. I wonder if I should ask about poisoning, which, let's see. But yeah, but now you see it's running. It does the list tools basically to understand what tools are supported, and then it after listing the tools, it can initiate the request. Basically, it initiated the request. What is today? Then initiated the Google query. Got the 0 responses. So then change the question. Then actually try to do some reasoning, and then basically, yeah, got something. Could you please? It was not able to find. Let's reformulate the question. Okay, what?
Can you pass it as a variable terminal?
I do. Yes. It's let's do the different, right? But more interactive. Let's run my second client. Let's do it. My second client runs Slack application. Right, and then this is the manifest for Slack application that's carefully crafted. And then the Slack application is pretty much like it will do this virtual variable, right? So basically, it runs the same stuff. It adds like this is the copy paste, the same. The only difference it starts. Oh, sorry. Yeah, this is the Slack application. Yeah, very similar stuff. The agent very similar. The only thing that it runs the Slack application, and then it basically says it takes the user message, it acknowledges, then it says that in the status that I'm working with, so user will not get bored about, and then it passes the question to this to the user, awaits the results, puts it in the Slack response. What's the result? That's it. Then, because MCP is kind of blocking process, Slack run blocking process, I need to collect this. Both to run. So basically, this is why I run this MCP server in the global context. And then the only is needed just to run and wait for the results. Basically, that's about it. And yes, I run std async IO for this. Right, feel free to run anything else, any coroutines that you like, but yeah, it's good enough, right? Let's run this Slack application. Do I have Slack? Yes, I have Slack. Please, Slack. Yeah, okay. Let's start a new chat. Okay, so this is the variable. What's the question?
What are the speakers?
Speakers. Where?
Extension.
Okay, run it. So let's see. So right now it started to do some reasoning. It started to do this question. Accenture speaking events today, March. Interesting. Yes, it got some responses, right? Then yeah, I was able to find this this meetup, and then started to do this, and then yeah, this is the content of the website, right? We've got the responses, and then let's say, and this is the response basically, quite concise and well done, right? Then, yeah, this is how it works. Yeah, let's come back to the yeah. This concludes my demo, and then if you will have any questions, yeah, I'm happy to answer, happy to go into the code and so on. Just a couple of takeaways. Conclusions. My very subjective conclusions. Please don't quote on me, or please, or yeah, you can quote, no problem. The code generator, almost forgot. There is, if you click on this link, and I click it for you, so it's to prove that it's not poisoned. Just let me open the this. It's there. This is what Anthropic actually provides. This is the quite well-crafted piece of MCP documentation with a lot of samples. And then I just copy-paste this thing.
We can't see.
Sorry?
We can't see what you are showing.
Oh, I'm sorry. I do apologize. I apologize about this. Okay. So somehow when I do this, when I press this button, then it's not a screen mirroring anymore. I do apologize for that. So this is the link. This basically the prompt to generate MCP servers on the client. This is the comprehensive documentation with a lot of samples, what LLM is actually needed, and it's quite huge. Why? Because Claude has a large context window. We can fit it all. Right, so basically what I do, I just copy this, open the Claude desktop. Feel free to open whatever you want, whatever can fit into this context window, and then I can write, basically my task, basically create MCP server that is capable to send nodes to the Slack. Please use the Python poetry and bolt. Enter. Yeah, this is what it will try to do, and then, yeah, basically it will. This is my poetry file, and oh, I should have said that I don't need to read me file actually. Yeah. Apologize. Yeah. Then it will start to write this this thing here. Yeah, I can massage it with my prompt, but basically this will be more or less okay code. With this complexity of the task, it should be quite capable. Yeah. So maybe for the next talk, I should just next time I should just generate this MCP for the client and then basically ask something on the Claude desktop and then get responses on the Slack. Yeah. So that's about it, basically. Yeah, it's I found this worked much better for the generation rather than just in the generators, because I can add more context. I can say, for example, I forgot to say that you must use the fast MCP server, and I could also say that you must always use the socket communication for the Slack client, and yeah, and so on. Right? I can say that it's a little bit divergent, but. Yeah, it's using the different. It uses this webhooks API that I don't want, but apparently within a few shots I can make my job done basically. Yeah. So just to say, this is what I would prefer to use for the generation, right? right? First support std.io with the tools for every service that you want, right? Then if you need SSE, there is a converter, by the way, just run this proxy or write proxy for yourself. It's not a problem to write. That will just take std.io and provide an extra just to any tool, just a normal SSE interface, right? Not a problem for that, right? If you want more, to learn more how to write servers, there is a link for that. And yeah, one thing which might be the showstopper for commercial usage might be, if this is the case, is actually SSE means that you can't use serverless computing, because SSE means that you need one-to-one mapping between server and the client. You can't run the server, establish communication, and scale to 0. Right, unfortunately not possible yet. The new server API will have the new MCP API. They're promising the stateless protocol. Then there will be the hope. For me, this is not a problem, or at least yeah, I can survive without serverless, without Amazon Lambdas. But yeah, the benefits for me are just overweights everything else. And then about the authorization, just look at the draft specification. This is the link. Yeah, it's quite good. Yeah, and these are recommendations just yeah that Anthropic provides. Then yeah, please yeah take a look at that. So yeah, whenever if you provide the UI, right, you wrote the service. Server may contain the vulnerability. Right, or then you should put the user in the middle, in the loop, and then actually before it will do the sampling, just ask for permission to use. Before it will tries to enter the file system and so on, ask permission to do, and so on. Just always ask the permission. But write a little bit more software, a little bit more responsible than I wrote for this demo. But yeah. Yeah, and with all this, I would like to say thank you. You can get the code from this from my GitHub. At least give me a star for this. Yeah. Yeah. Any questions?
Yeah. Hi.
Please.
First of all, thank you for the wonderful presentation. And actually, my question is like, what is this protocol enforcing between the LLM and different services? Like, what traditional approach wasn't able to do?
Sorry, say it again. What this approach?
What this protocol is enforcing, like between the LLM and different services? Like, what traditional approach wasn't able to do?
Okay, yeah. Just to come back, reusability. Right, because my LLM is detached completely, I can write a reusable server. Eventually, I can have the library of the servers, right? And then I can use, then I can just, if I have a task, I need to write an agent. Then I can just choose whatever ready-made servers ready, stack it together, and then run it. The second thing is that it really emphasize you to write agent in like in the style of Perplexity, where you give it a task, right? Not just search or just have a casual conversation, right? Or how to say, you're not like it's. If you ask like a question that you would ask to the chatbot, usually that has this RAG backend, you just add something and then expect that it will do the semantic search of the backend. It won't work like that. You need to give it a hint to what you expect and what task it must do. Right? This is why I start the question, find out, search, and so on, because I want to trick it not to look in the memory, not to use the other tools that maybe, but to use the online tools that online source tool that I supplied, right? So that's the thing. I need to a little bit change my way as the user how I use these applications, but as the application engineer, I really can focus on the servers from one side and be server provider, and then as the consumer, I can just write the client and then work on the security and so on perspective. Yeah.
Does it also also improve the accuracy in the contextualization of the LLM and also about the response time?
I believe, unfortunately, this has nothing to do with this because the interface between LLM and the contextualization and so on is about the hosting application and LLM, right? The way you will want it to do, then it will do.
Right, now about the speed, will we achieve more speed in terms of traditional approach with this MCP cell?
Speed of speed of what?
Response time.
No, it will be approximately the same because the slowest element in our system is the slow LLM inference, right? It's very hard to make it magically faster, right? But what we will do, we will implement this more. Our application will be more maintainable and more reusable. And apparently, I can, because my application is detached from the server, from the tools, right? I can change the model. Right, and then without actually changing the tools. So yeah, better modularity, better compound systems, I would say.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, pleasure.
Just one more question after this. Are you using global rules or prompts? I mean, for example, you showed in your screen never apologize or something.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, nevertheless, your model is detached, but still you are preferring putting some preferences for your model from the very beginning. I mean, before you even starting the real prompts and so on.
From here, whenever you write your host application, right, that talks to LLM, you need to give it some kind of personality, right? It's responsible just to say answer whatever user wants, right? Then you will in the next moment you will sell airplane tickets for $1. And people will do it just for fun, right? But in fact, what I want to do, I want actually first, with this prompt, right? I want to say that, hey, don't forget that I want you to act as this personality, right? And then I also want to tell that, hey, don't forget to use tools, right? And then I try a little bit to limit it with the hallucinations. We all knew this is not the best, but apparently, it's just a very simple prompt. I could do better if I would spend more time of writing the prompt, but my mission was actually to give a simple prompt as possible, that will do the job well. Yeah. And this bot actually DevClub.lv. Yeah. Go on.
I hope short question. I've recently played with MCP, and the thing that I'm still wondering how I can help actually AI to understand better which tool is exact fit for current task. So for example, I'm providing resource in different formats, like text, plain text, and HTML. And I don't want to mess up with logic myself. I want AI to be a smart one and decide.
Right. I have two ideas. Actually, one idea is super simple and naive, and actually, better tool description would probably help, right? But if it's hard to guess, right, then how to say it's you need to write your intent classification properly. The easier, that will do the make this guess better, right? Because you can on the host side you can from the context, right? You can more understand is this tool better or this tool, and then you can add it as the hints that you can use this tool is probably more preferable.
But
right?
Wasn't there such a thing as a feedback loop in the MCP, where you can sample up the response?
There is a feedback loop and there isn't. The sample actually, it's first of all, not every MCP client support this sampling, right? The second is the sampling will not give you this response. The sampling is actually works from the opposite side. Like when I, as the tool, I want to run to do some completion, to be able to complete my task. Right? I'm somewhere in the middle. Now I need to call LLM. And I don't want to call my LLM, just I want to use a call, I want to use whatever LLM has in the user in the context of something that's already there. This is what sampling is for, right? It's not like per se this feedback loop, right? So, but, and again, once I started to execute the tool, I already made, like LLM already made the decision that this tool is better by some reasons. Right, the only way is actually to put some kind of better hints what tools were to use, right? Yeah.
Thank you very much.